What I've got for you today is supposed to be an amazing match of StarCraft 2. I haven't seen these particular games yet, but I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between the current #1 and the #2 Terran players from South Korea. So first off, in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing here with the red Terran SCVs, we have ByuN, and his opponent in the opposite corner with blue SCVs, we're looking at Maru's main command center. This particular best of 3 series was recently played during IEM Katowice. I think at the time it was casted by some other... I don't know. I wasn't paying attention exactly to what was going on. I just looked at the results. So I do know who ends up winning this particular match. But there's no denying that, yeah, a lot of people have been very hyped about this particular Terran versus Terran. Which honestly is awesome, right? Historically speaking, I've brought this up many times before in previous commentaries as well. But historically speaking, the StarCraft 2 mirror matchups have never been as popular. So maybe this video's performance is not going to be that great either. If you want to help me out, maybe take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. It really does help. But anyways, usually whenever I upload a mirror matchup in StarCraft 2, the video's performance, it's not as great. Usually whenever there's a commentary or like a live game going on of a mirror matchup in StarCraft 2 on Twitch, also the viewer count is not as great. But at least over the last couple of years, the TVT, the ZVZ, and the PvP matchups, they have all showcased some amazing matches. Now, Terran versus Terran, of course, is always interesting because of the fact that even when you're ahead, it doesn't necessarily mean you can win the game. And that is an amazing thing if you like watching StarCraft 2, but if you like playing StarCraft 2, it can be a little bit frustrating. Sometimes you may find yourself with a massive advantage, but then you still have to break a Terran player who's sitting there with like a dozen siege tanks, and good luck trying to stim in there with your Marine tank army yourself. Anyhow, let's find out. So we've got a double gas opener here from both players. This is something that we've seen a lot, of course, in Terran versus Terran. It forces you into a one base opener, but it does allow you to make a huge variety of units early on. Now, usually what we see right now is a little bit of Reaper play. Reapers and Hellions are usually the tools of the trade here early on, just because it allows you to get a good army out to deal some damage on your opponent's side of the map as well. Notice right here that ByuN, he's playing very greedy. He hasn't sent out a worker scout at all. He decides to go straight into a reactor 2, especially against someone like Maru that can be a little bit dangerous, but in this particular game, it's gonna work out just fine. Maru at this point has seen the reactor timing, he has seen the factory timing as well, so he knows that, well, he needs to get out of there very soon, because otherwise this Reaper of his may very well end up going down. And obviously, if you're both making the same units in the earlier stages of the game, yeah, usually the player with more offset unit will end up obtaining the victory, and, well, Terran versus Terran, it can spiral out of control. I know that this particular match right here, this one on Gresven, it's a bit of a longer match, but yeah, a lot of Terran versus Terrans can just simply end in the earlier stages of it, just because one player made a little bit of a micro error, or, you know, they group up their units a little bit too much, and then suddenly those Hellions, they deal too much splash damage. Either way, this is the first time that ByuN gets to the other side of the map, and he is not gonna poke up the ramp. It's very tempting there, but he knows, yeah, this is what's gonna wait for him if he does poke up there. That's likely gonna be the end of one of his units. So, very conservative approach right here from ByuN, but I do think it's the correct one. Come out and play! You will face you, Maru, but you need to be on even ground. So at this point, we're talking 3 Hellions for the player in red, 2 for the player in blue. But obviously, we're on the side of Maru right here, so reinforcements are gonna arrive a little bit quicker. And apparently, in this particular case, that will be a siege tank together with a medevac. So, Maru already done when it comes to that early game unit production. He's going straight into a very defensive approach. Whereas on the other side of the map, we've got Cyclones coming up as well as a Banshee. So ByuN definitely planning on piling on the pressure for a little bit longer. Command center now done for Maru. That's of course the reason why he made a siege tank, and he actually needs to be very careful. Very good first shot right there. Oh my god, he didn't get the Hellion somehow. Okay, now he chases it maybe a little bit too far, loses a Hellion of his own as well. Decent grenade right over there, forcing Maru to back off. Now the siege tank is out though, and it's dealing so much damage here. That's going to make it difficult for ByuN to continue unsieging the tank as well. He wants to get it into a better position. And in the end, that worked out quite well there for Maru, but that was panic for just about 5 seconds there, right? When suddenly he had a couple of his units cut off from the remainder of the pack. It can be very easy to accidentally lose. And I actually thought Maru was going to sit back for a little bit longer. And I don't actually know if this is a great plan, but he decides to move out. Siege Tank unsieged, by the way, deal a ton of single target damage. They just lack their splash damage. So sieging it up can be very tempting, but not necessarily always the best move. Okay, Cyclone right there for ByuN does not lock on to the medevac, so for now, at the very least, Maru is going to be able to continue onwards. Siege Tank comes rolling down the ramp here as well, but Maru is already sieged up. ByuN decides to go for a siege up as well, but barely on the edge right there. Scan is going to reveal where that tank of Maru is located too. Tank on the side of ByuN goes down, but the siege tank here in blue also falls. Viking decides to drop to the ground too to try and deal as much damage as possible. There were additional units. By the way, there is now apparently that Banshee on the other side of the map being annoying. There were additional units produced here as well for Maru, and he's sending those across the map. But honestly, that Banshee may be the saving grace. We did have a little bit of cute repair micro right there coming out of Maru, but he still ends up losing 6 of his workers. One Raven up in the air here. Keep in mind, Interference Matrix incredibly powerful in the Terran versus Terran matchup. And you can tell that these guys are very closely matched, right? I mean, this is a proper high-level game of StarCraft 2. You can also tell why a lot of games have already ended by the 6-minute mark, even at the pro level. Because the margin for error is tiny, but it's very easy to mess up, because you've got so many different units and everything can come out of your opponent's side of the map as well, right? Interference Matrix goes down on the tank. Nice pickup right there, though, by Maru. Maybe you should have Interference Matrix the medevac there too. Instead, though, the Raven is going to end up going down. I don't know if it had enough energy, but that would have been kind of cool. That now allows those Vikings to land. Liberator comes across as well. Maru tries to be as obnoxious as he possibly can be, but for now, ByuN has 2 siege tanks in a pretty good position. That's, of course, why that Liberator is here, forcing those tanks once again to unsiege. He's going to back off for just a little bit. Upper hand right now in the skies, though, goes in favor of Maru, and that's really good for him, because that means that this Liberator play can continuously be obnoxious. That Liberator can move forward and siege up. Now, SCVs are pulled away. I actually really do like that move right here from ByuN, because he needs to break out of this position, and he needs to do so before the container is properly set up. Medevac, once again, available right there to snatch that siege tank from the ground. Vikings go into the main base. They want to see if they can maybe kill that command center. At least they killed the SCV that was building it, but no. For now, there's enough right here for the red Terran player to get out of there as well. In the meantime, this is why Terran versus Terran is such a crazy good matchup these days. In the meantime, we've got the players happily expanding too, right? Even though they're, trying to obtain the victory, they're at each other's throats the entire time. They're not actually slowing down when it comes to the macro. All the roads do lead towards that bio mid-game most of the time. So we've got Stimpack coming up right here on both sides of the map. Maru, though, not done just yet. Yeah, he wants to drop to the ground once more, I think. Vikings do deal bonus damage against mechanicals, so they actually kill SCVs pretty quick. He's got to be careful, though. He's had that Viking lead for a while now, but since he can't really escape very easily, there's a Cyclone also available, which is kind of an interesting choice. And he's going to end up losing quite a few of his Vikings here, and I don't think that that trade was particularly great right there for Maru. Okay, he's not done yet. He's not done yet. Stimpack is quite a bit behind Mr. ByuN's here. So he needs to be careful that he does not overextend. Stimpack is a very powerful upgrade. Sure, the siege tanks can get rid of those Marines quite easily, but there's no denying that the Marines, when split, which is obviously something that ByuN is well capable of, they can deal a tremendous amount of damage. Okay. SCVs here are pulled away as well to repair. And now we're gonna get to that mid-game. Alright, so the early game, both players survived. When it comes to unit losses, Maru has outcontrolled his opponent a little bit. ByuN obviously also not with nearly as strong an economy as Maru, because, well, 68 workers versus 55. Income-wise, this is going really well right here for Maru. That being said, though, I brought it up earlier, when you have the advantage in the TVT, how do you break this? Like, you don't just... You can't just break this. Maybe you have nearly a 20 supply advantage, but winning... breaking this is very difficult. So that is what makes TVT so interesting to me, because it's very difficult to actually close out a game, so comebacks are very possible. Okay, Vikings here once again trading out, but I think that's a good trade there for ByuN in the end. Ooh, he needs to be careful though. Maru left a couple of siege tanks there behind. A few of them decided to roll all the way around. Now Stimpack is available. He's going to force one of the tanks to siege up, but once more back off. At this point, since both players have been making a lot of Vikings, there's not a lot of HP remaining on those Marines, right? I mean, every single time he stims, he's effectively killing like 25% of his own infantry force. So he needs to be very cautious. Now, Stimpack is going to be followed right here with combat shields. So suddenly, those Marines here will whip out a shield. There you go. They had it in their back pockets the entire time. Plus 10 HP. Always nice to have. Command center building on location. And the same thing is happening here on the other side of the map as well, as Maru is looking to take the base right here at the 3 o'clock. He hasn't seen his opponent's expansions, but he can figure out that it's likely taken, because, well, he can compare it to his own timing. Ooh, I thought he was gonna try and commit there, and I think ByuN thought the exact same thing. Okay. Almost a disaster right there for ByuN, who was already backing off. I think saying that that expansion was, well, dead to him. I do think it's gonna fall here eventually, but that was a nice little bait and switch from Maru. Command center is just cancelled. ByuN doesn't want to deal with it anymore. He knows that it's likely not going to survive. Maru right here scanning and just looking around in general with those Vikings. Keep in mind that siege tanks can shoot away further than they can see, so in order for them to shoot at their maximum range, you need to have a unit or a scan leading it. Can be very easy to accidentally mess that up as well. Okay. One thing that I quite like right here for ByuN, though, is the fact that he decided to go double upgrades right away. So maybe he doesn't have the eco advantage, maybe he doesn't have the army advantage, but he does have a nice little upgrade lead. Yeah, he starts up the +2 here as well, the armor upgrade. I mean, we do have double upgrades right now for Maru, but apparently his infantry armor upgrade was a little bit later than his opponent's. And if Maru can... If ByuN rather can take a fight right as his upgrades are done, but Maru's aren't yet, he does have a... probably about a half minute or so where, well, maybe not quite. Maru was very quick on starting up the +2, but he's gonna have a little bit of time at least. Small little timing window to potentially deal a lot of damage. Then again, ByuN doesn't know, so if he wants to go for a push, he needs to be very sharp. Maru right here finally now sees that medevac drop, but these Marines, they have sailed towards the other side of the map completely unscouted. Siege tank does siege up, but right as it sieges, he is already out of there. He decides to reposition this as well. Now Vikings are coming across as well. Well, this will be cleaned up. In the meantime, though, these guys have been... careful, careful. ByuN sees the red radar right there. Okay. These guys have been pivoting around, trying to outmaneuver one another. Apparently, once again, a couple of Liberators available. We saw the additional starports building inside of the main base of Maru as well. And of course, they can deal a tremendous amount of damage. If you can get more of these Liberators out, yeah, you can continuously force these tanks to unsiege. And now suddenly that opens the opportunity. I can't even speak words anymore. Words are quite helpful when you're trying to give commentary to a game. Anyways, that opened up the front door right there for Maru to go in and potentially take that fight. He decided to back off, I think primarily because of that choke point, right? Because those Marines, they were very clumped up. Ooh, okay. ByuN decides to sneak away there with 3 full medevacs. Very dangerous move, but I think he believes that he's got enough tanks here, yeah, to keep his opponent pinned back for now. These medevacs, look at that sensor tower. It's not in the perfect position. Yeah, these medevacs, okay, now there's a missile turret ring coming up. These medevacs can be very, very scary. Now, luckily for ByuN, he decides to unload right over here at the bottom of the map. I don't think he was spotted, but I think that ByuN assumed that Maru assumed that he was going for a drop, and therefore he decided to unload in a slightly safer location. If he would have committed there, I think all 3 of these medevacs would have gone down. Right now, at the very least, there's a little bit of a battle happening here, but infantry armor level 2 is done for the player in red, as we talked about earlier, or as I spoke about in my monologue. We do have that +2 here a little bit later for Maru, so, not a great battle, though, for our player in red, because ByuN still just didn't have the numbers there. Okay. So usually in the late game of TVT, and we are getting into that territory right now, we can see that air army pivot, right? So already Maru is pumping out quite a few of these Liberators. He actually was adding on additional starports, and then he got sniped, and he decided to not put them down again. It's kind of interesting. Or did he? Okay, he's got 2 right now. I think he added on 2 more over here on the edge. Anyways. There is a tech lab here on the starport there that he just built, so we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what the plan is. Siege tank count, though, heavily in favor here of Maru. 16 versus 9. Okay. And the Viking count is also something to take note of, because ByuN has given up when it comes to that Viking patrol here at all. He just goes for Marines and Siege Tanks and a couple of Medevacs. Micro Jackson is going to have to micro his way out of this. But he's known as a player with phenomenal Marine control. Okay, once again. This is, not spotted actually, by Maru. So these Medevacs, okay, they decide to sneak around. Now suddenly though, Maru is going to be able to get the heads up. There's also a little bit of a siege tank move here on the right side of the map. Very interesting decision. Is Maru going to commit? Well, there's the Medevac drop going into the main base. ByuN suddenly at multiple areas at the same time. But the problem is, this means that his actual army is not that big. So if Maru feels brave, I've got a feeling he could, well, he could charge straight towards his opponent's third base. Command center and the main base goes down though. And actually ByuN right here, right on top of the soft underbelly of Maru, right? This is exactly where he's at his most vulnerable, as all of those units, they pop out of their production structures in this particular area. So quite a few units go down for essentially free. In the meantime, though, that Liberator, okay, it's taking care of the siege tanks on the right side, and this Medevac drop is also gonna get cleaned up. Okay, at least one tank over there. Okay, Liberator here in the middle of the map also gets broken, and ByuN with a crazy series of decisions there, somehow, some way, managed to break out of that soft contain that Maru made here in the middle of the map. If he can actually clean up a planetary fortress here, that would be amazing, and he does siege on top of it. A lot of these tanks, though, very low, and I think that's probably a little bit too much. Yeah, he's gonna have to repair those units back up, and Marines actually pushing each other around. Ooh. I thought... okay. I thought that that siege tank was going to be in a lot of trouble. Couple of Vikings here, maybe a bit too far forward. Maru is going to be okay for now. He decides to stim up this ramp. Very interesting choke point, though. That is so much damage that those couple of tanks in red can actually deal. +3, +2 for ByuN. +3, +3 coming up here from Maru, but the upgrades are a little bit later. ByuN apparently feeling a little bit pressured here. Either that or he forgot about the Carapace upgrade. The, well, I guess the Marines don't have Carapace, right? That would be a Zerg upgrade. But anyways, he forgot about the infantry armor here, which could actually hurt him quite a bit in the long run. Continuous Medevac movement, though, from ByuN, right? And look at the supply counts. This entire game long, it's been in favor of Maru. And don't get me wrong, his army still is just of a higher quality, right? But this is what ByuN tends to do. Sure, maybe Maru secured an advantage at like minute 6. But Maru is not gonna just, move across the map and obtain the victory. ByuN is making sure of that. Despite the fact that ByuN has had a smaller army here for a long time, he is still the one in the commanding position, which is pretty awesome. Okay. Maru must realize it right now as well, right? That something has gone completely wrong here over the last couple of minutes, as suddenly ByuN is becoming more and more adventurous. 6 siege tanks, though, still versus, well, I was gonna say 14, now it's only 12, as ByuN does snipe a couple of the tanks. That tank in blue having a grand old time, 19 confirmed kills. This one over here on the left also with 12 confirmed kills to its name. One thing that ByuN has done very nicely, though, is completely draw attention away from those outer bases of his. He's just been happily macroing up, and I think income-wise, yeah, he was even ahead here for the first time in probably about 10-12 minutes. Okay, these Marines, very low in HP. There is a siege tank available over there, but they have found a little angle. Yeah, I don't think you actually need to back off there. Okay, the tank is gonna force friendly fire, but it's okay. Siege tank here, in blue, in the tall grass, without detection. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to get a good engagement there, as ByuN now snipes 3, 4, maybe even 5 siege tanks off the opponent, at the cost of like maybe 24 Marines, but I don't think that was too terrible. That's the heroes from the bottom of the map. Getting some well-deserved repairs right there from those Medevacs, healing them back up for at least a little bit. Maru has had this center base, though, for a little while already, and that is quite nice. Couple of tanks here from ByuN. Yeah, still set up in a tricky location, and it's not gonna happen. It gets picked off pretty easily. Okay, so the old main base. Flying on forward towards, well, this center location. And this is one of those spots where you really do prefer having a planetary fortress. This is good. Very nicely done here by Maru. Trying to get that control back. It was starting to slip from his fingers, but He still has the nice advantage. He still has the better upgrades. He still has the superior army overall. Right now, though, we have ByuN also adding on a couple of Liberators of his own. He's going for a medevac drop here on the right side of the map once again. There's that one missile turret guy, though, having a grand old time. Gets a full medevac there, so that's 10 supply down the drain. That's also because there was apparently, once again, a battle happening in the middle of the map. A lot of Marines have gone down already in this game. ByuN's mass Marine siege tank transition. Ooh, this is bad right here. This corner. Yeah, this corner has cost him quite a few units. I don't think it came entirely expected. Medevac decides to all army hotkey all the way back home right now. And that's the old main base here for ByuN. Now under a lot of fire. It looks like it manages to sneak away just barely in time. These SCVs need to be very careful, but they've been given an assignment to mine out these mineral fields, so they're gonna commit. Maru right here scans. He sees that his opponent's movement is happening on over towards the right side as well, so he needs to be cautious. Now Liberators are showing up, though, so I thought they were going to be part of the main battle, but instead, they're going to be used for harassment. Maru, yeah, he's trying to crack the shell that is ByuN, but he's not really pulling it off. He's really trying, but he has not been able to pull it off over the last, well, really, the last 15 minutes. ByuN, once again, with the supply advantage. Economically speaking, he's not in nearly as comfortable a position, but honestly, he only needs to have one decisive victory in one of those battles, and then suddenly he can start thinking about rolling straight towards the other side of the map. Okay, this is nice though. Yeah, Maru decides to sacrifice some of his Marines here to force the friendly fire for those tanks in red, so they're gunning at the Marines and taking out their friends in the process. Okay. Partly due, though, to the fact that ByuN is here on the other side of the map, busy microing as well. But there are enough tanks available, about 7, 8, 9. There's so many siege tanks available in blue, so Maru does not lose one of his command centers here. Maybe he ended up losing, well, you know what? Yeah, he's lost 2 orbitals. Maybe he did end up losing one over here. Either way, now we see the same trick being used in the middle of the map, too. One thing, of course, that ByuN did kill is those 27 workers that have popped up on the left side of the screen. Okay. He decides to move forward once again. Maru needs to be careful. ByuN coming across the map right now with a huge army. Okay, there's an interference matrix. Ravens, obviously, are very popular in the late game of TVT, but these guys have been playing so aggressively that they haven't really had the chance to make that proper transition. Okay, anti-armor missile, I love that. So all of those Marines covered in the orange paint with that little bar beneath their health bar, they're going to take additional damage while that skill is on top of them, so that is very painful. It's basically an armor reduction, so it means that everything else over here will just deal more damage. So even just a couple of those... Ooh, you gotta be so careful. Look at those siege tanks. Yeah, they're just blowing up the Marines in one shot. It's because of that anti-armor missile. You gotta be so careful here. Maru going for the same trick again. Not a lot of friendly fire this time around, but the siege tanks, of course, have a minimum fire range, and that does mean that 2 of them will end up going down. Once again, though, ByuN thinking about going for an all-out assault. He's been loading units into medevacs for longer than anybody else, and if he can get on top of the production, honestly, there is a chance. There are siege tanks with this army here this time around as well. These medevacs, though, oh my god, they are taking so much damage. Now the siege tanks do siege up, at least, well, the one does over here. He's gonna be able to push this back. Siege tank here on the low ground also does get sniped. In the meantime, though, Maru thinking about going for an all-out assault on the other side of the map. Command center lives for now as the SCVs desperately tried to repair it from the bottom. Maru's slowly moving forward here, trying to get on top of his opponent's natural, but ByuN is already in the opponent's main base. Reinforcing units are needed here, right? They're popping out of those production structures, but not fast enough. SCVs are now retreating here. They're trying to go on over towards the top right-hand corner of the map, but there's a planetary fortress waiting in that position too. Now suddenly, ByuN is on the chase, as apparently Maru decided to leave that position alone. Loses one of the tanks. SCVs, that's the reason I think when Maru decided to leave that location, he wanted to snipe them, and indeed most of those workers, if not all of those workers, no, 2 of them will live to tell the tale. They're gonna be pushed back. Liberator in the main base, and reinforcing units do eventually push this army in red out of the main base in blue. So ByuN is forced to retreat and get on out of there. That exchange, though, despite the 35 worker losses, was not that bad for ByuN. I actually think it was quite good for him. He doesn't have a lot of mining at this point, but he's got a very nice supply advantage when it comes to the army. 121 versus now 90 here for Maru. The question is, can he really figure that sort of thing out, right? I mean, we know that his army is bigger, but we have perfect information. These guys, they are playing ridiculously fast. Look at the average actions per minute right here, for example, for ByuN. 512 versus 428 for Maru. That's insane. These guys, they're doing a lot of things at once, and they obviously have to make calculated guesses, right? They have to make estimations as to what their current position in the game is. Liberators trying to be obnoxious. Jimmy over here trying its best, but nope, not gonna happen. Are we gonna move forward? Okay, yeah. ByuN is thinking the same thing as well. He's like, wait a second. If you decide to get a little bit too aggressive here, I will try and stim in. Siege tanks there in red. There's not a whole lot of them. Yeah, only 5 tanks versus 5 tanks right now. We've gone all the way back to Marines, Medevacs, and Siege tanks. Free orbital command here at the bottom of the map. Not bad, but we've been seeing a bunch of those CCs already placed around the map here, so Maru could reconsider that position once more. Okay, Siege tanks unsieged this time around, so not as much splash damage, but still a couple of tanks in red end up going down. Liberator here, once again, denying mining. It's been an absolute roller coaster here, but ByuN actually grabbing most of that advantage here for a while now as he decides to stim forward through that choke point in the middle of the map once again, forcing his opponent to back off, though. Here is Maru. The Marines coming in from the side. Is he gonna commit again? Is he gonna stim once more? This is so dangerous. ByuN wants to get on top of his opponent's tanks, and he does pull that off, but at the cost of so many of his units. An absolute bloodbath over here. Siege tank count, though, now in favor of ByuN, who knows that he can definitely, yeah, use this defensively if he needs to. Now, it would be great, but he is not in the right place. Those rocks are actually not knocked down just yet, so ByuN decides to pull that move off. Command center in red here at the 12 o'clock position does go down, and at this point there's only 3 CCs with orbitals on them remaining here for ByuN. Well, I say that. Maru has got only 4, but he's got 3 more planetaries as well, and that is quite a bit nicer. That said, those bases, they've been mining for a long time, and they are running kind of low. This is really the only base that's still quite comfortable here for Maru, so, I mean, he's got another expansion taken at the bottom, but no workers are currently in that location. 27 minutes into this game. There is no clear advantage for either of these two players yet. Maru's been ahead for the majority of it, but ByuN has been making it incredibly difficult. Yeah, and now he snipes that command center over there too. Maru knows, though, that this is going to take a lot of time, and he decides to just send his entire army straight towards the other side of the map. This is unscouted, because ByuN hasn't had a lot of sensor towers. There's one over here on the left, so now he sees what's going on. Command center in red immediately ends up popping, but that was a decisive move there from Maru, but was that really worth it? I guess in the end, it's an eye for an eye, a command center for a command center, and since Maru has more command centers, the one that he killed from ByuN is probably more valuable. Then again, though, I feel like he could have done a little bit more there if he decided to move maybe just a bit deeper. He doesn't know exactly what he's playing against. A couple of Marines here coming in from the left. Those get killed for practically free. Now ByuN, yeah, forced to move forward. 81 versus 63 Marines. He wants to go after a command center here, but there's already so much damage coming out of those Marines here on the right side. Still, ByuN gets the tanks in a good position. If Maru accidentally stims within that siege tank range, he knows he's going to be in a lot of trouble, and another command center ends up going down. Now suddenly, by the way, all the way up north, ByuN has acquired a new base. This is right next to that previous orbital command here from Maru. Maru does not suspect that base to be taken. I think in Maru's mind, this expansion here, right below the one that ByuN has had for a while, that one is the most likely next location that ByuN is aiming for. Okay, well, now he finds out. He's already trying to get into position. A lot of those Marines, though, so incredibly low in HP. Siege tanks in red, though, sieging up over here in a very dangerous spot. Despite the fact that ByuN, he should not be winning the Marine battles. He's got more siege tanks than his opponent, and he's been positioning them a little bit more... yeah, a little bit more effectively, right? So now the Liberator up in the air, once again trying to force those tanks out of that position, and that is really quite annoying here for ByuN. think he's going to use this to once more do that slow push we saw him execute at minute 4. Remember when the first Liberator came out, he was going for a very, very similar move. We're once again back down to the same units, but with much better upgrades. Maybe in some slightly bigger numbers as well. Okay, ByuN successfully analyzed that this position is lost. He decides to leave one tank behind, kill a couple more Marines, but that might be the end for that command center. Instead, right now, though, ByuN knows that he's got a lot of time to potentially stim straight towards his opponent's natural. Siege tanks here in red need to be in a good position. And you know what? I do think that ByuN actually gets in a really nice spot. It's going to be difficult for ByuN, for Maru to get back to his own natural. Maybe ever so slightly further forward would be awesome. Good thinking right there, though, from Maru. Already bringing back that Liberator. He killed the command center up north. Okay, siege tank over here. Yeah, no, he's gonna be okay for now. He needs to deflect this Marine drop, though. Those siege tanks are so low. Beautiful shot right there as well, once again by Maru, who's now really starting to clean up his opponent's units. ByuN, though, trying to go for one final Doom drop here. He's got 81 supply versus only, well, 140 of the opponent, but that is not quite enough. He decides to retreat. At this point, income-wise, I do think we've got a nice advantage here for Maru. I mean, especially if those SCVs get back to mining. One Marine, one missile turret trying to work together. Okay. This was played at Katowice, right? So, it's the StarCraft 2 World Championships. Maybe in an average game, ByuN would have left. But he is going to try and squeeze as much juice out of the Terran units that he does have. Production-wise, there's really not that much coming out of Maru either. Maru has been broke for the majority over the last 5 minutes, so yeah, now he finally gets back to mining, and that is super nice. Okay, siege tanks over there in blue. He needs to be so careful. Maybe he can accidentally catch a couple of those units off guard, and that's exactly what happens. Maru secured an advantage in the early game, but it took him 25 minutes to finally bring it home. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Dragon Scales. ByuN apparently has had enough of playing the macro game. That game would have been a win against pretty much everybody out there, except for a very small group of people. And sadly, Maru happens to be part of that list. Very difficult game 1 right there. Valiantly fought by ByuN, but apparently now he's going to play this a little bit more aggressively. So, it's Maru here in the top left-hand corner of the map. He doesn't know what he's playing against just yet, but I think he would like to find out. This is a good location, of course, here for ByuN, who's currently rallying... Nah, there's no way. He's currently rallying those barracks all the way back home, but that would be a little bit funky. Single gas here for now, here for ByuN. We'll see exactly what his plan is going to be, and I do like this for Maru. Maru decides to send the scouting SCV towards the other side of the map, just like he did in the previous game. So in the previous game, we saw him going for a scouting SCV into a scouting Reaper. Also really do like this supply depot, so Maru is taking control of this location. So this is a little jump up location that those Reapers can use. ByuN re-rallying the barracks. He's definitely going to try and jump towards the high ground here. And Maru will have at least a little bit of vision. Okay. He sees the lack of structures here on his opponent's side of the map. He does see the orbital command, so... Ooh. If you know that there's... Okay, nice kill, I guess, for ByuN. If you know that there's an orbital command, there has to be a barracks out there, because in order for, well, you to make one of those, you do have to have an orbital somewhere. Okay, now Maru has scouted it. He's already sitting here, though. He's sitting with a couple of SCVs, waiting for the opponent to come in. This is the welcoming committee. Surprise! It's not really what... it's not really what you want here if you're ByuN at all. Yeah, no. Surprise party, not what ByuN was hoping for. He was hoping he was going to be able to get into his opponent's main base unscouted. So now he's going to have to make some dance moves, right? Now he's going to have to pull off some crazy party trick if he wants to actually be in a decent position. Because in order for him to go back home, he's going to have to fly those barracks back, and that's going to slow him down a lot. Now I do like this, okay? Command center here gets spotted. At least it's in the main base, so Maru is going to be able to replace that SCV quite easily. SCV count though, yeah, still good right here for our player in blue, but yeah, they're starting to drop. Trying his best to snipe that, snipe the Hellion. The Hellion now running away for its life. Okay, he's gonna be alright. Second Hellion will spawn here momentarily as well, and I do believe that Maru is gonna be able to quite comfortably secure his own main base. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, Tech Lab coming up on a factory, so that means that Cyclones will soon be rolling towards the opponent. Command Center confidently built here on the low ground as well by ByuN. So ByuN ready to apparently, yeah, just continuously build up his own eco here. But it's a bit of a dangerous move. One of the problems, right, you saw that in the previous games. The early to mid game pivot really is when the Stimpack upgrade finishes up. It's not a hard rule, but the Stimpack upgrade is incredibly valuable. And for ByuN to now go for a Stimpack research, he's probably going to have to fly this barracks all the way back home. There's no way he's going to be able to build a tech lab over here and then research it. I mean, it is ByuN, so maybe, but that can be a huge problem. That can make that transition quite a difficult feat. And if that's the case, he'll probably have to play rather defensively. No, okay. So the barracks is going to make the flight of shame. There's a captain right over here sitting behind that little window, cringing really hard right now. It's a bit embarrassing. Command center on the low ground, not done yet. And Maru with his pesky little Reaper, okay, ooh, gets 2 of them. Not bad at all. That's going to slow down ByuN just ever so slightly. Barracks over here being obnoxious as well. That's in the location where that orbital command would like to come up. Careful now. Ooh. Okay, ends up losing one of the Hellions for free. But eventually, though, there is a Cyclone available, right? I don't think that ByuN can really push forward too much more here with those Jetpack Raiders. Okay, so a room is prepared for the barracks. Never mind. It's gonna be for the starport. What did I think? Stimpack? Not today. It's gonna be for the starport instead. Banshee coming up. Okay, so ByuN is just looking to pile on the pressure. He needs to be so careful, though. Early game, once again, going well here for Maru. But this time around, he is the defender, right? Oh, I was thinking of a song by the Foo Fighters, but no, that's the Pretender. I was close enough. What if I said I'm not like the others? This is, nah, a little bit different. Anyways, you're the defender. We do have the medevac drop headed on over, but this is once more a flight of shame, as these units, last time I checked, are not blue. And even though, yeah, Maru would like to harass his opponent, this is mostly just ByuN trying to intercept any of those medevac drops. I think he must have noticed the medevac in blue moving out. But yeah, sadly, it never really went very far. It's right over here. I think he must have noticed it moving out, so he was trying to intercept it. Now he's waiting over here. Okay. Good spot, I guess, for Maru, but not necessarily a game-winning one. Not necessarily an advantage that is so big that he's going to be able to drive this victory home right away. One problem, though, you kind of run into here as ByuN is that you're behind, right? Like, you're a little bit behind. It's not a huge disadvantage, but you have to decide what's your next move. You sort of expect the opponent to try and leverage their advantage into an attack, but that's not really what's happening here for Maru, as he decided to go for a 3rd command center instead. So right now we've got a 3rd CC done right here for Maru. And, well, the same thing happened right here on the other side of the map for ByuN as well, but Maru finishing his ever so slightly quicker. Okay. So where are we going to go from here? Well, first off, we're going to secure the 3rd location. Reapers here from the early game, still left over. ByuN is trying his best, but they're going to be repealed back home. Not bad. These relatively late Banshees, though, I wonder if they can get any sort of work done. So he saved them up. Right now, apparently, is the time to strike. The problem is, when you come in with the late Banshees, okay, did Maru spot that? Did he see the little shimmer? I don't know if he did, actually. Maybe ByuN can use this to come back in. He's ready to harass here from the right side into the opponent's natural as well. Okay, Banshee's going in. That was very tight, but he does have the cloaking upgrade done, and he turns out to be okay. Using 2 of them, he needs to really target fire a little bit better. ByuN, that is. Maybe miss-microing that ever so slightly, and this push is actually working out quite well for him. Now the Ravens are here, though. No scan really needed, although, yeah, you do have to have them in the right location as well. That's now tons of SCVs going down. 18 workers down the drain. That said, we also lost the 2 Cyclones there. The Reapers. Okay, ooh, interference matrix on a Banshee. SCV repair. Okay, yeah, not bad. As Maru does keep one of his siege tanks alive, and he kills the 2 Banshees. Good worker harassment there. 21 workers have now gone down. But you always have to be careful about losing a bunch of your units for free like that, right? If you can't actually defend at home, the game can be a little bit tricky. Stimpack is slower here for ByuN, but honestly not by that much. Upgrades are a little bit faster here for Maru, but again, honestly by not that much. So we're setting ourselves up once again for a nice little macro game. I say that. I say that as Mr. Maru unsieges everything. ByuN going for, well, somewhat of a drop, I guess. At least thinking about it. Okay. ByuN looking at his opponent's units right over there. Siege tank, okay, in a pretty good spot, but not far away enough. Yeah. It's gonna get up, or it's gonna get picked off. Another siege tank goes down. A 3rd and a 4th siege tank may actually end up going down as well. Maru just sniped all of his opponent's tanks, other than this guy. He's not in the right position. ByuN decides to go for a counterattack, because of course he does. That's what he likes to do. 12 SCVs in blue have once again gone down. Reinforcing units, though, are going to be coming out of those, well, barracks and factories very soon. At the same time, there is a huge army in blue, subtly, inside of the opponent's natural expansion as well. Some of the units that were rolling across the map and running across the map have come back home to try and defend. 25 SCVs in blue have gone down. So 46 workers were killed here by ByuN so far in this game. And he's not done just yet. The problem is that his army is much smaller. 41 versus 66 army supply. That's another one of the tanks going down. At this point, 2 of them are available. But where are they? Oh, they're right over here inside of the natural. Currently not really participating in anything. Command center taking a ton of damage as well. SCV is forced to run away because otherwise they fall. And that may be the end of that command center. And with it, it's gonna be very difficult for ByuN to continue macroing in this particular match. Siege tanks over there in a really powerful spot. Honestly, these last couple of minutes have been excellent here. Well, for our player in blue. Maru trying his best to claw himself back into the game, using his larger army to his advantage. Okay, Liberator does, Cyclone there does get sniped. I've been calling Cyclones Liberators and Liberators Cyclones for years, okay? I don't know if it's ever going to be fixed, but with that economy down the drain, despite the fact that ByuN just killed a ton of his opponent's workers, he can't address the army. And it's Maru who obtains the victory in this amazing series 2-0.